Right, good morning. Here we are on Fellowship Day 167. Actually, it's not. That's a lie. I couldn't bring myself to do it. It's actually day 168, but I'm full of the beans this morning, specifically the coffee ones, and I'm going to do 2 recordings, one for yesterday, day 167, and then I'll be back for those that want to hear the monotonous tones of this Glasgow accent for day 168, but on day 167, it was a busy one, but it was mainly focused around a group meeting, a research team meeting. Our core members, we had our new PhD student come along a couple of weeks early to see some project updates and get the lay of the land. We were all together, mainly talking about research. I was giving some updates on work that I'm doing for the team, some safety involved with the team and some things in our combined calendars. But yeah, that was the bulk of yesterday's effort. And from that, the theme of today's recording, or at least today's first recording, now that I'm telling you the blanket, transparent truth, and that is the messaging around what your team is for. Now, there's been a number of occasions where I've tried to be very transparent with our team, talking about how my fellowship was put together, what the plan for that is, the difference between thinking about the short-term gains and the long-term wins, and having to think so long-term. And I don't think I've said much about this specific fellowship's architecture, but it could run for as long as 7 years. And so in that, there's ways about thinking about projects, both for the short term and the long term, but the umbrella over all of that is the messaging about what it's all for. And in the recent past, I've given, versions of my final panel interview presentation to our team to impress upon them the big picture, as well as what they're getting out of their individual or small collaborative projects. And doing that was a good first step forward. I learned a lot from that because there were some members of the team, those less experienced than others, who actually went, oh yeah, and had a light bulb moment to say, you know what, I could not see the link between the niche stuff that I'm doing in the lab day to day and how that might actually impact people's lives. And so when I hearing that back from some team members, that really gave me the motivation to continue down that experimental path of continuing to share the message, to refine it, to revise it, and to always bring it up. And there's been several times since where new people coming in, I've done the same sort of thing, tried to give variations on what was my, big picture panel interview presentation. But since then, the point of all of this is not to set it and forget it, but to set it, revise it, and bring up reminders of it at every point. Because I think we all need those reminders of what is pushing us forward on the days where things are just not working. On the days where you need to make a difficult decision of failing fast and moving on so that you can keep moving on towards the goal. But if there is no goal, if there's no message, if there's no reminder of the big picture, that's the danger zone in which people can start to think, well, what the hell is the point in any of this? Am I just hitting my head off a brick wall here? Or I'm actually trying to punch through the wall to the other side of something that I'm now reminding myself of. And so in the latest iteration of speaking to our team and trying to continually refine that message, of taking what looked like a short 5-minute presentation to begin with, these panel type presentations with a big picture message, and I'm slowly starting to distill it down into a one-pager and a one-sentence sort of mantra. A mantra, it's got several different connotations, but I think about it in the way that a mantra is used for meditations, something to focus on and repeat in order to get motivation towards concentration. So from a message to a mantra to motivation and concentration. And that's where we're at just now. I'm not saying that that's a final solution. It's not a solved problem. It's something that I think I'll always be working on, probably for the entire span of what we're doing. And as well as using that as a way to refine the message, it's also leaving us open to the fact that opportunities, circumstance could change over that 7 years, and the message needs to remain flexible to change, because things outside of our control might change, and the privilege of our position might take us in a different direction. But right now we're getting towards what for us is the short messaging, the reminder of why we're doing what we're doing. And it's also important because as a team, we're working on Buzzword Alert again, some multidisciplinary projects where, two team members might be working on things that appear desperately distant from one another, and completely unconnected. But what does connect them invisibly is made visible by us revising and reminding ourselves of what the group is for. So in our case, to give you that example, and again, I don't want to dwell too much on our specifics for this series, but a lot of what we are doing is to find new ways of pointing camera technologies at chemical reactions, and writing software to see what quantifiable information we can get from a camera. How can we turn what the camera sees into numbers that the chemist can understand? How can we supplement the chemist's eyes with quantified information of what's going on in reactions in real time? And there's a lot that can be said about that in 5 minutes in relation to workplace productivity, digital tools, reduction of carbon footprint, improvements in workplace safety overall. And that's where the big picture panel presentation goes. It covers all of that. And it also covers, as a side note, my promise to the team and how I want to care for them more broadly than the science. But that 5-minute message about the research is now being distilled into something along the lines of we are a computer vision research team developing intuitive software tools for chemists across the sector. And again, that will be refined. I could come back to you in 10 episodes' time and that sounds completely different, and it will roll off the tongue easier than it does now. But that distillation links to a lot of inspiration I've had from playing in entrepreneurial circles, hearing from the likes of Seth Godin, Ryan Holiday and others. And any entrepreneur worth their salt will be able to look at their product or service and their company and fill in the blanks of the sentence that goes along the lines of, this is a blank that does blank for blank. This is a blank that does blank for blank. So that could be, this is a book that provides chemistry and tutorials for the undergraduate chemist. This is a blank that does blank for blank. This is a smartphone that provides the latest communication tools for those that have higher levels of expendable income. I could have been talking about something like the iPhone there. This is a blank that does blank for blank. And I'm now just staring at the mundanity of my office telephone. This is a telephone that enables internal communications for a university staff member who doesn't want to use their mobile phone or email as much. I'm rambling now, but I'm just looking around the desk. But whatever it is, and this is where I'll leave it for you today, coming back to the central point of this, which is refining the messaging for your team and what it is that you do. Think about, this is a blank that does blank for blank. We are a research team that does blank for blank. What do you do? And who is it for? See you for the next recording on day 168. Have a good one. If you like what you're hearing on the podcast, head over to the website where not only will you find the written blog versions of these podcasts, you'll find my leadership blog series, the daily thought series, and information about my book on managing the imposter phenomenon. We also have even more free resources and webinars linked to the YouTube channel. So head on over to dr-mark-reid.com. That's dr-mark with a C -reid.com.